What's up, everybody? Fantastic to see you here. I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. Welcome back to Destroying the Illusion, my YouTube channel here. And we're going to call this one State of the Q-nion. Because it's a good pun. I always love a good pun. Shout out to Tommy G for that one, actually. He came up with that. And speaking of which, tomorrow on Instagram, if you don't follow me on Instagram, tomorrow I'll be going live with Tommy G to talk about a lot of the same stuff that I'm going to talk about here in this video. So if you don't follow me there, go do it. And I'm going to check out what that whole live thing's like on Instagram. I've never gone live there before, but I'll do it tomorrow and try it out. But anyway, as for this video here on the YouTube, State of the Q-nion, we're going to discuss just all the crazy shit that has gone on with the Q movement over the last week or two. And I've just been sitting back, being a patient observer, and seeing it all play out. Seeing all the people say all the things, and weird stuff happen from there. So, let me just get maybe this looking all right. It's kind of washed out frame, but that light is as low as I can get it. So, anyway, hope the audio is all right. Give me a thumbs up in the comments if it's all good. So, where shall we begin? I'm going to get into, of course, the folks that are going like anti-Q. We've had some folks completely doing about face over the last few weeks, and they're saying all the weird things now. We've had a few people just make some glaring mental mistakes, mental fumbles as I call them, and they're going over here and interviewing some LARPers and fakers, and it's getting weird. So we'll start with how the social media companies are treating QAnon right now. And over the last, 4 days, it's been a shit show. Facebook went and censored some group that had 200,000 plus people, and it was a QAnon-oriented group. Facebook cut them. Twitter's been playing games with everybody's accounts. They've been banning people like crazy. Tommy G got banned. Sun Q, if you're on Twitter and follow a lot of Q following accounts on there, Sun Q is a really good one. Big fan of his work. He's been Q'd before. They took his account out. There's a bunch more I could go through. But, yeah, it's getting hairy out there. Not just they're sanitizing accounts, but they're also taking away people's followers. So I've lost, 4,000 or 5,000 followers. It's weird because 2 days ago, Twitter swipes followers from almost everybody's account. I lost like 4,000. The next day, it was almost back to normal. It's like these accounts came back right away. And then today, boom, they're gone again. So I was up past like 189,000 on Twitter, and now I'm 185 something. And they're doing that to everybody's accounts. So, yeah, crazy things. Just waking up, hoping I have my Twitter account still and trying to say things not to get my ass banned. Actually, it looks like they're targeting accounts that have backups. That's what some people are noticing, that Twitter is specifically targeting people who have a backup account, even if they don't use it. By technicality, I think that goes against Twitter rules, or they can use that excuse to ban your account. So if you have any sort of alternates that are aligned with that same phone number or email that you're using for Twitter, I would axe those immediately. I don't. I only have the one account, and I've only ever used the one account. So I've stayed like as safe as I could on Twitter, but hope that stays. Hope that stays. So that's pretty much it in terms of the shenanigans going on with those tech companies and Q-related, the Q movement. There's a lot of course, hit pieces and whatnot in the mainstream media. I'm not going to touch on that here because that's like another day, another article these days. But now let's get into what's going on within the movement. That is far more important here than the rest of the stuff. We know the mainstream media is just going to attack and social media is going to censor. That's no big surprise. But let's now get into I don't even want to say the infiltration. Part of it might be infiltration, but actually a few of these people might not be infiltrators. They might be totally honest with what they're doing have good intentions. They're just making some horrible mistakes because, I don't know, for whatever reason in their head. But, okay, first let's start off with Kevin Shipp. I'm not going to say much about Kevin Shipp because I think he has been well roasted. He's been roasted enough on the internet. But he's just saying, he's got his contradictions. A week or two ago, he said Q's a psyop. A few days or tweets later, he goes, oh, it's not a psyop. And then he says, oh, it used to be a psyop, but they're coming back with new posts. And then he says, oh, it's a new age Luciferian psyop or something like that. We'll discuss that theme more when we talk about what's going on with Dylan Wheeler here in a minute. But Shipp's narratives all over the place. And the most telling sign that we get from Kevin Shipp is that he said in a tweet that sounds like he's getting a lot of his intel, I say that with finger quotes, counter intel, whatever it is. He's getting his information, his data from Jerome Corsi. Corsi, potato. I don't care. I don't really respect that gentleman. Honestly, I don't respect many people associated with InfoWars because they're all just a bunch of bullshitters. So when I see Kevin Shipp saying that he's getting his info from Corsi, and for those of us that have been around the Q movement for at least 2.5 years now, because that drama, that whole InfoWars versus Q drama really went down beginning middle of 2018. For those who have been following this since then, you know that InfoWars, they've done a lot of shit against Q over the years, but really around then, towards the end of 2017, early 18, they tried to, Alex Jones was for it. They brought out their own, quote, insiders, Zach. Alex Jones was saying a bunch of just weird stuff. Oh, yeah, I talked to Q. I've got sources, whatever the heck he was saying, Yeah, if we think Kevin Shipp's contradicting himself, just listen to Alex Jones for a week or two. He's all over the place. And then it's just that all. Q ended up calling InfoWars out. Then they kind of went away for a while. Earlier this year, remember Alex Jones was going to bring forth the person that started Q or whatever, and then that just didn't happen. He just didn't do it and brushed that aside. Then on InfoWars' website, there's been various videos here and there, all attacking Q in different ways. They haven't been done by Alex Jones or Jerome Corsi. They were done by other journalists associated with InfoWars, but yeah, and then we had that same narrative, it's some InfoWars journalist made a video calling Q a new age psyop thing. So InfoWars has been all over the place. Kevin Shipp's getting his deets from Jerome Corsi, aka InfoWars. Can't trust that. Kevin Shipp is already doing interviews with Natural News. I saw him do an interview with Mike Adams yesterday. And, I like Natural News' website. They put out some good information here and there, but it's important to note that Mike Adams is really close with the InfoWars crew, so that's probably why Mike Adams writes the way he does. It's all sensationalized, super clickbait. But, I don't think Kevin Shipp talked about Q in that Mike Adams interview. Maybe he did. I don't know, but I didn't watch it. Nevertheless, I'm, just not listening to anything Kevin Shipp puts out these days. Or anymore. I think I've hit that unfollow button by now because it was just enough of the BS. And Alex Jones, a couple of days ago, moving from Kevin Shipp now to InfoWars, very briefly, then we'll move on to Dylan Wheeler. Alex Jones said that, oh God, what did he say? That's the most difficult thing to ever pin down. It's like Alex Jones says everything. He said he is, quote, and this was 2 days ago on his radio show, Alex Jones, quote, changed his mind about QAnon. He said, quote, I knew who was pushing it. And then he essentially said that same narrative that it looked like Jerome Corsi gave to Kevin Shipp and that Kevin Shipp was tweeting. So Alex Jones said that, paraphrasing, but people involved in the original Q told me to come out against it. And now I'm for Q, though. Now I'm for Q. I made some weird metaphor. I don't know. It looks like InfoWars is hopping back onto the bandwagon. That's, they change their tactics. They change their psyop tactics. Every so often, they'll either attack it or deny it or infiltrate it. which it looks like they're doing to Q now. They've actually done with Q since the beginning. And actually, I was the person who went onto InfoWars show in November 2017 and first brought Q up on an InfoWars radio broadcast. Believe it or not, I was talking to Roger Stone of all people, and one of Roger Stone's, like, I don't know, sidekicks or goons or something like that. But it was a total mess. It was a shit show, and then that's when InfoWars sort of brought it in and started subverting it, undermining it. But yeah, so be careful. Be careful for whoever Corsi's or Alex Jones is giving those Mossad narratives to. So that's that. Now let's move on into Dylan Wheeler, all right? Dylan Wheeler. Hold on, I got to take a drink before this one. It's just iced tea. I saw a couple of people ask. Just some iced tea with magic in it. Dylan Wheeler, man. Yeah, that one's a bummer. A lot of people are very, very angry at him, which I'm not going to say anybody is not justified in having their emotions for whatever reasons, but there's a lot of things Dylan's wrong about. We'll get to the particular misinformation that he is now giving to his audiences, but I'm not going to come on here and call him a shill and call him a plant or activator or something like that, because who knows, like, he could seriously have just changed his beliefs about everything. Dylan Wheeler is formerly known as Educating Liberals. You might have seen that account when he had a Twitter profile. His Twitter account got a lot of engagement, and he had quite a bit of engagement on Instagram. He got suspended from Twitter, so he went to Instagram, and he had near 400,000 followers since, as of a week ago. I think he's lost like 40 or 50,000 since, and a couple hundred on his Patreon. But nevertheless, he had a lot of engagement. He was bringing information and these different ideas and talking about Q here and there with his big audience. Then a few days ago, literally like 180 degrees within the span of, 24 hours, makes a few posts on his Instagram. People are scratching their heads. Then Dylan goes and puts out an hour-and-a-half video explaining his whole beliefs, whatever he's thinking now. So that's essentially what happened to Dylan Wheeler. And again, like, I'm not going to sit here and call him a shill, because he could genuinely believe what he is saying, okay? And he's got a family. He's got, a kid and a wife, and I don't want his whole life to be ruined and stuff, and everybody just throwing these labels on him that might not be true. But you can, props to him, actually, to have the courage, if he is in fact being genuine about his beliefs. It takes a lot of courage to come out and do 180 and, go against the crowd, I guess, and start speaking what's on your mind. So actually props to him for having the courage to do that. But just because you have the courage to tell your beliefs doesn't mean your beliefs are true. And that's what we're going to discuss here. So, what is not true about Dylan's, what he's talking about now? I mean, gosh, he seems to be just literally jumping to conclusions about just about everything and framing these narratives in his head about all sorts of different stuff. And it's all just his opinions. It's not the truth, right? Yet a lot of times he does tell people what to think and what to believe. And quite honestly, he has gone full Jesus freak. Full, mind-controlled religious brainwashed. Caveat, okay? I don't have a problem with religions, with scriptures, things like this, as long as you're using these particular tools resourcefully and beneficially, right? No problem with that. Read whatever book you want to read, be whatever religion you want to be, as long as it's helping you and the world around us and we're all growing from it, great. But Dylan's literally went back to the Dark Ages with his thinking. This isn't the 1700s we're in, is it? But You might think that if you read any of his new Instagram posts. So the first thing that really set me off with him, and I'm like, oh no, was his flat earth post. So this was actually before he came out hardcore anti-Q and put out his hour-and-a-half manifesto. A few days before that, I saw a flat earth post on his Instagram, and I just said, ah, shit. Oh no, what YouTube rabbit hole dead ends is this guy going down? Oh no. I saw it there. I saw it beginning. Because a lot of it's, once people go down those rabbit holes, it all sort of just blends together. Flat Earth, all aliens are demons, read my book, it's the truth, if you don't, you're wrong, that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I saw the Flat Earth post, and what he did was, see, again, he's like cherry-picking specific details, leaving others out just to frame his own opinions with. Happens all the time with Flat Earth. And one of the big ways it happens with Flat Earth, a particular way it happened here with Dylan, is that the word firmament, people get lost behind the word firmament all the time. And like, shit, don't people realize anymore that all this stuff we get from these religions has been manipulated? Like, do people not realize the Bible's been manipulated, mistranslated here and there, books left out of it? So it's like, it doesn't make sense to me. I don't know, I guess people don't realize that these days. And do people not realize that scriptures, the Bible, other books like this, they're written in allegory? It's called a metaphor, folks. So if you see the word firmament in there, it doesn't mean a dome over our frickin' heads. What's a classical example of how the word firmament has been used? It could be used to mean heavens. Oftentimes it symbolizes, the heavens. Nikola Tesla used that word firmament. A lot of flat earthers go, oh yeah, Nikola Tesla was a flat earther because he talked about the firmament. No, dude. The firmament, in that particular instance, had the context of meaning the ether. Nikola Tesla used the word firmament as describing this sort of all-encompassing energy that connects all points in space and time. That's a lot different than a dome over our heads. So, context helps. Context always helps. So then you can go back to see that, oh no, the earth ain't flat. That whole firmament could have been something totally different. But nevertheless, Dylan is now, I guess, a flat earther. I also saw some posts where Dylan was espousing the idea of Project Bluebeam, that a fake alien invasion was coming, that essentially all ET life is demonic or something like that. Like I said, once you go down like that flat earth rabbit hole, they all sort of string together and just become weird beliefs. I'm not going to get into that one too much, but I think it's foolish to think that beyond our atmosphere that there's no life, or that beyond our atmosphere the life out there is either all good or all bad. The idea of service to self and service to others would, in my mind, obviously extend far beyond our atmosphere. So all life created in the cosmos could be good or bad, and physical and non-physical too. So anyway, that's a long conversation. But no, once he started getting into the Project Bluebeam, fake alien invasion stuff is coming, he clearly did not understand what's happening right now with UFO disclosure in the mainstream media. This is another long conversation. This one I've explained on this YouTube channel for years now. I've been following it very closely. He clearly does not understand that there is a battle for disclosure, an information war going on, and all this UFO stuff we're seeing, it's all coming from not Trump, not Q, basically. Most of it is. It's coming from the New York Times and Politico and, Tom DeLonge's group and like this sort of Clinton cabal, you could loosely call it. So another thing Dylan didn't understand, which is unfortunate because, again, it's like, I don't want the dude's life ruined, but you can't. He calls himself an independent journalist, and he's still calling himself an independent journalist. That's not journalism. He can call himself a commentator, he can call himself a preacher if he wants to, whatever. But It's not journalism that he's doing. So, yeah, that needs to be discussed. We need to say these things. If he is using his platform to spread misinformation to his audience, that is incredibly irresponsible. All right? Incredibly irresponsible. Courageous, like I said, because he's having the bravery to go and say these things. That's awesome. And he's got the right to do it. Don't get me wrong. I don't want him censored or canceled or anything like that. He's got the right to say what he wants to his audience. But I also have the right to sit here and be like, that's not true, bro. And yeah, I mean, it's not personal. Like, I don't sit here and rattle off these names because I don't like these individuals. I talk about these people because they're putting out things that are wrong, unfortunately. And the bummer is that, at least in Dylan's instance, I don't think he's trying much to get out of the very narrow viewpoint that he's created for himself. It doesn't look like he's trying to educate himself more about these topics. He's just narrow-minded. He's locked in, and this is the truth now. This is the truth. Think about the Bible. If you want to understand the Bible, and this doesn't just go for the Bible, it goes for any book, actually. If you want to understand something better, you have to research everything around it. So if people are telling you that you have to read the Bible for the truth, it's going to be a very narrow viewpoint. You're going to understand the Bible better if you research things outside of the Bible. Then you can come back to the Bible with a deeper context, deeper understanding to put it into context, correct? It's called holistic understanding. You try to research a little bit of everything so you can put all the puzzle pieces together. If you're sitting here with like a puzzle piece that doesn't really fit in the puzzle, but you're like trying to hit it in there, and you're like, no, I don't want to research anything outside of this because whoever taught me when I was younger, this is the truth here. This is the truth. Dylan's trying to call Q the cult now. Who's the one with the cult-like thinking? That's hell of a projection right there. That is some projection. And last thing on Dylan is truly I want him to be okay. I don't want his whole life to crumble around him. So we're being easy. We're being easy on him. And I hope other people out there, being easy on him too, but also real. You get all the virtue signalers out there, the self-righteous ones that come out. Don't speak about him. Don't speak about him. You're the one causing division. No, the ones who are putting out misinformation are causing division. Don't come around with that self-righteous bullshit. I'm sick of the virtue signaling. Like, after all this mask stuff, I don't do it anymore. I don't deal with it at all. So, last thing, let's talk about Dylan's argument on hydroxychloroquine. Because this was a piss-poor argument. And I haven't just seen it with Dylan. I've seen it go around like Facebook and a lot of other places too. So it looks like Dylan just saw it and got caught up with it without informing himself anymore. His argument about hydroxychloroquine is that he says, the common argument now is that hydroxychloroquine contains the active ingredient polysorbate 80 and a few other active ingredients. And hydroxychloroquine is this big bait and switch. It's really to get a pharmaceutical out there to hurt us all with, okay? That's the argument. That's the bullshit argument. Now let's get technical here. Dylan even showed this in his hour-and-a-half manifesto video and got it wrong when he showed it. He said, unless I misheard it, but I don't think I misheard it because I went through it a couple times. He said that polysorbate 80 is an active ingredient in hydroxychloroquine. No, dude. Even in the screenshot he showed on his video, it says inactive ingredient. Trust me, I used to manage a health food store. I know label reading really freaking well. It's like a science in and of itself. Label reading, supplement facts, nutrition facts, all that crap. Polysorbate 80 is not an active ingredient of hydroxychloroquine, okay? Get this through your skulls. It is a complementary ingredient in a drug called Planaquil. Planaquil is the common generic drug form that contains hydroxychloroquine in it as the active ingredient, and as the inactive ingredient, they have the polysorbate 80 and a few other things in there for whatever reason. Now, mind you, I don't want to take polysorbate 80, but by technicality, polysorbate 80 does not need to be in there. It's not an active ingredient of hydroxychloroquine. You could find pills with just hydroxychloroquine in it without those other fillers if you wanted to. Unfortunately, the pharmaceutical companies these days, you might have a tough time finding something like that. But no, polysorbate 80 is not an active ingredient of hydroxychloroquine. It's just another ingredient in a name brand version of it. That also not just one company makes, okay? Hydroxychloroquine is a drug that I believe a few different companies have the ability to make. So that's important to note too. Yeah, weird stuff, man. People just see one thing and put it into their narrow view and run with it and don't even try to get like outside information about whatever belief they're just getting caught up with. And in terms of hydroxychloroquine, like, you know, I've made my thoughts known on that. I'm like, yeah, I'm for HCQ, but I think there's more effective and cheaper treatments out there for COVID. I've made that known. But in terms of this argument, this conversation right here, hydroxychloroquine is like a super benign, really mild drug. He's like, Dylan said that he doesn't live in fear, but if you, I mean, his whole video was like him just scared of everything. Hydroxychloroquine is really mild. It's not that big of a deal. If you took it. The only times it becomes toxic, the studies that have shown it to be toxic, were studies that were like injecting hydroxychloroquine right into people's blood, and they were using really high doses of it, which, yeah, you inject anything into your blood at really high doses, you're gonna have some problems. So, yeah. Anyway, his argument on hydroxychloroquine was bad, flat earth. I hope his brain comes back. I hope his brain comes back. Now let's move, before we finish this up, into the folks. Yeah, hydroxychloroquine is 50 cents a pill, but trust me, there's stuff that's even cheaper than that you could take to wipe out COVID. So let's move on now, and we'll finish up. This isn't going to be too much longer. But let's discuss now the folks that are making the mental fumbles. These are the ones that are drinking the Austin Steinbart Kool-Aid, I guess we can say. David Nino Rodriguez and Antoine Tucker, also known as Montaga, Steinbart and his crew. And man, those are some mental fumbles right there. So David Nino and Antoine Tucker, I've never talked to these guys and I've never met them. So again, I'm not going to sit here and blanket label them a shill and all this stuff. They might even have good intentions with what they're doing. They just want to, I don't know, get information to people and help wake people up. Cool. Maybe you have some good intentions, but just like in Dylan Wheeler's case, the road to hell is paved in good intentions. You can say that you're doing one thing and pray for discernment and say that you just want to get information to people and help wake them up, but it's the action that matters. And David Nino's and Antoine Tucker's execution here did not go with their words. I'll just say that. So, yeah, this conversation kind of goes for them both because generally both of their interviews were pretty similar. But what they essentially did was that, at least in David Nino's case, they were saying that they're just offering up their platform to interview somebody, right? Okay, that's great. If you just want to offer up your platform for somebody to get information and all that stuff out there, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. But in what they were doing, especially David Nino, he was basically buttering up his audience for Austin Steinbart. He was clearly not acting unbiased. He was very biased in selling his guest to his audience. He said that he only had 1 foot in, 1 foot out, or something like that. He tried to act like a neutral party, that's what he said, but his actions did not show that. Like, one of the first things he said when he did his Instagram Live with Austin Steinbart is that he called Steinbart brilliant. Like I said, he's just buttering up his audience for Steinbart. He was so giddy and excited to have Steinbart on. And then during that conversation, he basically let Steinbart just go with his narratives. There was no attempt to play devil's advocate. There was no attempt to ask him any hard questions. And during the interview, I think David Nino even said, "Oh, I don't go hard on anybody." That's bullshit. They were totally soft questions. David Nino and Antoine Tucker both didn't know that much about Q. And you could tell by certain things they were saying in their interviews. For instance, David Nino made a quick comment essentially saying that he said, "Oh, didn't Q start during the JFK administration," or something like that. No. I mean, as far as we know from the evidence that we have about Q, definitely not. And then Austin Steinbart just sort of like sidestepped that question and talked about something else like he often does. So they just both showed that they didn't know that much about Q. And they were definitely, I mean, look, if you're interviewing somebody on your platform or working on the documentary with them or whatever the case, and then you basically promote their narratives and you tell your audience how brilliant and happy you are to interview this person, that's not being unbiased. So it's clear promotion. And David Rodriguez even said, "Oh, I'm going to go down to Phoenix and see Austin eventually." Like, doesn't sound like you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, bro. So, I mean, man, it, again, irresponsible to do that, because these guys are putting themselves in, they're basically trying to put themselves in way shower positions. They're trying to act like leaders here. Antoine Tucker, David Nino Rodriguez, even Dylan Wheeler, they got different views, but they're trying to act like leaders. If you're putting yourself on social media, trying to gain a following, doing interviews like this, you're putting yourself out there. These guys are putting themselves out there very irresponsibly, because they're not even researching what they're claiming to give people information on. And yeah, it's just, they can call themselves commentators or all these other things, but don't go to these guys expecting well-researched information on Q, that's for sure. Or, unbiased interviews such as that. So that's just kind of, I was like, what the heck? What the heck? These guys are just offering up their platforms to let Steinbart say whatever he wants, bring forth his narratives, which, a lot of what he's saying lately, at least like at people on Twitter, is definite misinformation. There's so much projection around that. It's almost like a little cult around Austin Steinbart that's like forming there. Projection all over the place. They say, just look at the evidence. Just look at Austin Steinbart's evidence. And the people that are naysaying him on the internet have not. They have not looked at the evidence. That was even said on David Nino's show and Antoine Tucker's. Well, what makes you assume that we haven't looked at the evidence? Like, that's a false assumption right there. And then, yeah, if you look at the evidence, you can then find out how much non-evidence it really is. It's the same type of psychological operations with the repetition, with the groupthink kind of narratives. Steinbart always tells you what to think, and then if you just feel the energy is coming from him, man. Yeah, somebody said they're mainly bots boosting him. You also notice that in his engagement, and a lot of the like troll accounts that I've seen on Twitter and Facebook lately too. Yeah, they don't look real. They look artificial. Sean Stone. Somebody just mentioned Sean Stone in the comments. He's another one recently who interviewed Austin Steinbart. More than happy to do it. Offered up his platform for him, which, what a fail. What a mental mistake. It's a bummer, man. People just think they know more about subjects than they actually do, and maybe they don't even realize they don't know much about the Q and these things, but bummer. And then here's the thing about that Stein cult, is that here's the projection in action. If you try to call them dividers, oh man, they'll come at you with the finger pointing, huh? They'll go, no, Jordan is they like the word Pharisee. Yeah, Jordan's the hater. He's the divider. I already see it in the comments here. Like, ho, you obviously haven't looked at Austin Steinbart's Twitter lately, huh? So it's just, it's bad. It's bad. See, what they want is people getting angry. They want that. They're thriving off of that tension, off of the controversy, really. They want people to be upset. You see, the best thing going for Steinbart right now is the people who know he's a LARPer or LARPing and are angry at him, because that's them giving their attention to him. And then what happens is that the people in the wings of Q, the ones who really haven't made up their mind yet, the lukewarm people, then they go, oh man, we got all these Q followers. They're really angry at this guy over here. So maybe there is something to him. So maybe I'll give him a watch or two. Let's see. Click. That is the target market, in my opinion. And that target market is looking at our disdain for Austin Steinbart. Oh, we're so angry. And that's what makes them want to look at, I don't know what evidence. They say they have evidence. But no, the best way to approach the whole Stein cult is just laugh at them. I don't know. Don't get mad. Like, what's to get mad about? They're really, all they're doing is just, honestly, Steinbart is like an incredible thing because it's really like separating the wheat from the chaff, isn't it? So, yeah, just ignore him or laugh at him, really. Or facts matter. You know, just calmly present some facts, and then, like, I'm going through these interviews talking about what these people are saying. Like, I listened to them. Had to listen to them on 1.5 speed on YouTube just to get through it, but yeah, we look at the evidence, you see? And we bring the counterpoints. So anyway, let's see here. A few more comments. Thank you guys for watching. A lot of yeah, there were definitely some shills in these comments. I'll throw it on slow mode next time I do one of these. Let me see if I can do it right now, actually. I don't know how to do it right now, but anyway. Appreciate you guys hanging out here for a little while. Some stuff we just had to cover here. And again, you know, I don't wish harm on any of these folks. It's not personal. It's just we're taking a look at the information they're bringing out and the patterns of behavior in the character of these individuals and making observations of them. So anyway, guys, tomorrow on Instagram Live, me and Tommy G. I don't know what time yet. You'll have to go over to Instagram and we'll decide on that later. Check my story. And then anyway, I'll be back in a few days with more videos, more good stuff here on this channel. Appreciate you guys. Talk to you soon.